All right, we hit the 2 o'clock hour, so let's get started. My name is Beth Ferenzi. I am the Marketing Director of Higher Education at Xanadu, and I'm pleased to welcome you this afternoon to our session on Xanadu FlexEd courseware, coupled with OpenRN's open educational resources for college nursing programs that together delivers customized, engaging content, robust assessments, interactive simulations, and more for your students at a very affordable price. Today, my co-presenter is Mike Kubiak. He is the Higher Ed Product Manager at Xanadu. Mike will provide a live demo of the FlexEd platform and address any questions you may have in the second half of this session. We will also share the recording and slides to all those who registered in a follow-up email after the session. So next slide. Today, we're going to cover a quick overview of what is OER, and then I'm going to walk you through an introduction to a great organization called OpenRN. I'll introduce you to our company, Xanadu, and talk about the relationship between Xanadu and OpenRN. I will tell you a little bit about the FlexEd courseware, and Mike will provide a quick peek inside the platform and guide you through a demo. Finally, we'll open it up to a Q&A. If you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll tackle them throughout the webinar or at the end. If we don't get a chance to address your questions, a Xanadu team member will follow up after the session. So let's get right into it. Next slide, please. An overview of OER and OpenRN. What is this all about? OER is Open Educational Resources. Simply put, by the William and Flora Hewitt Foundation, OER is defined as teaching, learning, and research materials in any medium. They can be digital or otherwise, that reside in public domain or have been released under an open license that permits no-cost access. But where it gets really interesting is no-cost use, adaptation, and even redistribution by others with very limited or no restrictions at all. So if you move on to the next slide, a couple of key bullets here. The PDF download is always free. Open resources exist not only for textbooks, but also for photos, music, and many other media. They are licensed under free licensing with Creative Commons, and there may be some restrictions and guidelines, but typically very minimal. And this is where working with a great partner like Xanadu, who is an expert in OER, can really help you weed through quality and navigate any of those guidelines in existence for the content you are looking for. So, next slide, please. So OER usage, as you would imagine, many schools and universities are looking for ways to lower the cost of course materials and remove the barriers to education for students. This is particularly important in the healthcare industry. A Faculty Watch survey conducted in 2020 asked about OER usage, and you can see it's grown steadily over time, but there's still a lot of opportunity to improve for improvement for OER usage. So if you move on, Xanadu asked many of our faculty partners, if you want to save students money and you're considering OER, what are some of the most important factors to consider before you adopt an OER solution? The highest response was affordability at 67%, but then quality and increased engagement came in a close second. The key takeaway here is that faculty want to offer an affordable, low-cost learning solution, but they are not willing to compromise on quality. And they're also looking for ways to increase student engagement. And if you move on to the next slide, as you can imagine with anything new, there are challenges. And I recognize the data on the right is a little hard to read, but the key takeaway here addresses top challenges, or why would someone not want to adopt OER content. The first reason is sourcing relevant content. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's all over the place and it's not centralized. So the time it could take to find that relevant content can be quite a challenge. Then, of course, quality. Because open content can be produced by anybody, you want to make sure it's quality, vetted, accurate. All these big things can really be a challenge. And lastly, the time to transition, whether it's free content, low-cost content, or just something new. You may have been teaching your course for years, and the time to transition to new materials seems overwhelming and a challenge. Later in the presentation, we'll address each of these top challenges and show you how FlexEd courseware can help. I'm going to shift gears for a second and introduce you to OpenRN. What is OpenRN? They are a fabulous organization and they are all about quality. In fact, you can see that they have won some awards in quality. They were funded by a $2.5 million grant from the Department of Education, and the goal there was to create 5 free OER textbooks for nursing education. These books would cover the foundational pieces of nursing education. The overarching goal was to reduce the cost for nursing students while maintaining high-quality materials. The lead team for this grant is being led by Chippewa Valley Technical College out of Wisconsin, and the books are all being written collaboratively from faculty across the Wisconsin Technical Colleges network. In addition, each book undergoes an extensive peer review process. Back to that quality piece. Quality is very important in academics, and peer review is key to that. The OpenRN community encourages customization and even adaptation, and that might be to state standards, university requirements, or just the way you like to teach. And finally, very important for nursing, we all know the NCLEX exam is critical, and the books are aligned to success in that exam. Now on to a success story. Moving on to the next slide, here we go. A little technical difficulty, but we made it. So a success story I'd like to share with you from an early OpenRN adopter. We had a nursing faculty member who adopted the first book, Nursing Pharmacology, and she shared some student success data. In fall of 2019, this is pre-OER, pre-OpenRN, she had a 75.8% student pass rate, which is very good. But if you look at the jump in spring of 2020 to 86.9%, and then the fall of 2020 at 81.7%, you can see faculty members are seeing success with it. And students are achieving success as well. A nursing student attending a college was failing the math component. She had been using a lot of different resources, but the math calculations just didn't seem to make sense to her. The OpenRN books are written deliberately in a very down-to-earth manner so that students can absorb and understand the material. So this student used the math calculations chapter of the Nursing Pharmacology book and ultimately passed the test. Additionally, students are talking about the tools and how they can really appreciate the online component, the learning activities, and the case studies. Just to go beyond a textbook and bring the content into the real world is a major benefit. Next slide, please. For the OpenRN series, here is a book publishing timeline for you all. Nursing Pharmacology Skills and Fundamentals are all available now. Nursing Management and Professional Concepts is releasing this summer. It's almost ready. And the team is hard at work on the 5th book, Mental Health and Community Concepts, due in January of 2023. And this schedule holds true for Xanadu FlexEd courses as well. In just a moment, Mike will spend the remainder of our time walking you through a demo of the FlexEd courseware using the Nursing Fundamentals text. But first, a brief overview of who Xanadu is. So our mission at Xanadu is inspiring the education community with innovative solutions that build an affordable and accessible learning experience that drives student success. Next slide. And at the end of the day, educators and Xanadu alike, we are here for the students as they prepare for a successful future. Next slide. One way students can prepare for success is with Xanadu FlexEd courseware. FlexEd is affordable, flexible, and effective. So let's not waste any more time and give you all a peek inside the courseware. So without further ado, Mike Kubiak, Xanadu Product Manager, will take it from here.
Great, thank you so much, Beth. That was a terrific overview of Xanadu and OpenRN and why we're so excited about the partnership with OpenRN and this important work around nursing high quality content and courseware. So thank you so much, Beth. Just as Beth mentioned, we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so going through the FlexEd courseware platform. As Beth mentioned, Nursing Fundamentals was the most recently published textbook. It was 3rd in the series, and we thought we would show you that version in FlexEd today, that book, so you can see the latest and greatest, as Beth said. But the other thing we wanted to be really mindful of is the FlexEd platform is entirely the same structure and format for all of the courses. So there's real advantages there. If you imagine students using the FlexEd courseware for multiple courses, and certainly for you as instructors as well. If you teach across multiple courses, or if you choose to use FlexEd in your department, then the benefits of being aligned across that common platform for all of you as users. You'll notice a few things as you click in. This is what view you will see as you come into your course as an instructor. You'll notice the title here at the top, Nursing Fundamentals, where it says Demo Course. You can imagine whatever you would like to have listed there, your course name, your name as the instructor, school, all that good stuff. And then you'll notice right up above that there is an instructor view icon here. So that's a reminder to you that you're in the instructor view and you're going to see some things in your view that students would not see in their view. If you did ever want to toggle over to the student view, and we'll do this as we go through the demo, you'll notice if you click on the instructor view icon there, it gives you those three different options: student view, instructor view. And as Beth mentioned earlier, everything is designed to be customizable and editable. So this authoring mode icon is how you can easily jump into that authoring mode to make any changes or edits you would like to make. So very easy to navigate through. In most cases, our partners prefer to set up LMS integration. So you can come right from your LMS, if it's Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, Moodle, others. You can have the link to FlexEd right in your course page, and your students can access FlexEd directly through that single sign-on link. And then that allows you to have gradebook syncing and the other benefits of that LMS integration. But this is what your homepage would look like once you came into it, most likely from your LMS. A few things to mention. You'll notice here, this main homepage has the table of contents that aligns fully with the textbook. So I'm just going to scroll down so you can see what all of this looks like. In the demo version of the course, we have the first 5 chapters published, but in a fully published course, these, rather than being grayed out in draft mode, those would all be white, just like what we saw above. So you'll see the 19 chapters of the textbook, again, lines up perfectly with the table of contents. We also put in the complete textbook at the end here in both PDF format and also using our Xanadu e-reader that can open up on Kindles, or if you have other e-readers that you prefer to use. So our goal, again, is to make sure the content is available however you and your students are using technology. The other reason the platform is designed to be quite user-friendly, and you'll see it's a pretty clean interface and layout. It helps for engagement, of course. It also means that it's very mobile-friendly. So if students are doing any of their work or reading on their phones, which we're seeing an increasing number doing that, it's a really clean layout for them. Or if they're using an iPad or a tablet, again, it resizes appropriately and reads really nicely. So I'm going to go through to give you a sense of, scroll back up to the top and go through one chapter to give you an example of what this all looks like in action. As I mentioned before, across courses, the layout is entirely the same. It's similar for every chapter in the courseware. So every chapter follows a consistent layout. So you'll notice here, these are the chapter titles on the left, beginning with chapter 1, scope of practice. You can click on the plus button here to give you a sense of what's included throughout the chapter. You'll see it expands and contracts as you click there. Chapter 2, similarly, on communication. So what I'm going to do is click into chapter 2, the communication chapter, and we can go through this together and give you a sense of all the great content that's included. Every chapter begins with an introduction and warm-up, and what we mean by that is there's videos that align with the key concepts from the chapter. So in most cases, there's 2, maybe 3 videos that cover key concepts. They're designed to be fairly short and to the point, usually about 5 minutes in length. You'll see the first one here is 6 minutes. There's 4 here. These are all curated by our subject matter experts that develop the content In some cases, they're actually co-authors of the OpenRN textbooks that do this additional development work with us. So speaking, reminding you of the review process that Beth mentioned earlier, we know there's a tremendous community of authors and co-authors and reviewers out there, and we utilize them for developing some of this content as well. These are all embedded videos, so another advantage of this is rather than students being linked away to YouTube or elsewhere on the internet, being embedded in this way keeps students within the courseware. And so you can imagine all the benefits of that. It keeps them engaged and focused. It also allows for closed captioning and additional layers of security for the videos. It also means that there's no pop-up ads or other things that you might see if they were being linked out. The other benefit, as you can imagine from before, we talked about customization, is if you have other videos that you already use in class that you'd like to swap in place, it's very easy to do that by replacing the hyperlink. That's also the kind of work that Xanadu can help out with as well. If you have videos that are posted online, or if you have, for example, videos that you've recorded yourself and used in lectures, we can host those for you and replace or add to any of this video content. So that's the introduction and warm up is really the video content there. We've found that the videos are very popular among students and instructors, that we're finding that to be really well received. There's a couple ways to navigate through. I mentioned the menu tab earlier that would take you into the reading. We found that students prefer a couple different ways to navigate through, so we've tried to be responsive to that. There's these breadcrumbs in the middle that give you a sense of where you're at. So if you toggle over, you'll see the one shaded in is the introduction. Next is reading. You can move through by clicking on that circle. You can also move through using the arrows on the right and left, so you'll see where it says reading here. Or if you prefer that menu as the easiest way to navigate through, you can do it in that way. So 3 different ways to get to the same spot. The reading, again, lines up fully with the textbook. So you'll notice here we're in chapter 2. You'll see all of the A heads or chapter sections listed here, 2.1 through 2.7. So all of the textbook content that you would find in the print book is included fully here, along with hyperlinks and additional sources, of course, again, mapped fully to the textbook. The nice thing about that is if you did have students or yourself, if you had the print book as well and you wanted to toggle between the print version and the FlexEd version, it's very easy to do that. I mentioned earlier that we often have through the LMS integration, your students will be taken right to that course homepage with the table of contents. If you would instead prefer to direct students to particular chapters or even particular subsections within the chapters, we can help you do that as well. So we have some instructors that, if it's a very important topic or something they want to reinforce with students, they might put a very specific, what we call deep link into their LMS that would take students, for example, right to section 2.4 and have students do that reading and to reinforce it. So the chapter follows that format. Next up is a set of practice activities, and again, every chapter includes these practice activities. The practice activities are NCLEX aligned, as just as all of the textbook content is. And the practice activities were very important to the OpenRN team and are very important to our Xanadu team for student success and to give students a great deal of practice as they're learning before they would take assessments both in class or certainly as they're preparing for certification exams like the NCLEX. Every chapter has things like flashcards built in. We know how popular flashcards are for nursing students, so you can always count on those being built in. And then the other really compelling set of practice activities that the OpenRN team has built out are scenarios, and they include short videos that really put students in that clinical judgment mindset, again, thinking a lot about the next generation NCLEX structure and key concepts. You'll notice here it says start the course, and it takes students through a set of learning objectives, an introduction. Usually a few videos are built in here along with the scenario. So I'm moving through quickly just to give you a sense of it, but you'll notice here as one example, a video there, and then a few more videos, and then questions will begin to pop up. Again, these are practice questions, so students can take these as many times as they would like, and it would start them over if they get an incorrect answer. So kind of the best way to practice. And then what we've also built in is a practice quiz, and these are all auto-graded items. There's a set of them in every chapter that are written in similar ways to the end of chapter assessment that functions more as a graded assessment. The practice is designed truly to be practice. Because we're in the instructor view, it's showing you the correct answer here. If we flipped over instead to the student view, you'll notice that it refreshes and shows you, does not show the answer there. So that's an example of that difference. These practice activities also power what you'll see at the top where it says study center. So if students are struggling on any of these practice quiz items, it puts those sections of each chapter into their study center and encourages them to go through and work through it again. And then as they perform better on the practice quiz, it gives them some encouragement and tells them to move on. The other thing that we heard as we were building FlexEd, we heard loud and clear from nursing instructors that having PowerPoint slides that instructors could use either in class or after class to reinforce the key concepts is critical. And so this is another thing that we've built into FlexEd that is not provided from the textbook alone. So every chapter has a set of slides that cover all of the key concepts. Again, these are fully editable, so we give you the version to start with, but if you decide that you would like to make any edits or additions, you can open these up in Microsoft PowerPoint or in Google Slides and make any of those edits that you would like. Again, you have control over this too if you don't want students to see the lecture slides until after you cover that content in class, to encourage them to go through everything themselves first. You can schedule when these things are published in FlexEd very easily. And then I mentioned earlier what we call the lesson exam. Every chapter has in fundamentals, a 15-question auto-graded set of items. Again, these are all designed to be NCLEX aligned, covering knowledge, of course, and some are scenario-based as well. We will continue every semester to update and add more and more items to the item bank, again, to ensure NCLEX alignment and for academic integrity purposes, so you can use these semester over semester and feel confident that that students are getting refreshed and relevant content, and questions aren't being used too often. So again, this has a similar format to those practice quizzes that we looked at before. So true, false, multiple choice, some short answer, drag and drop, and some of the others that you've all seen in the NCLEX in the next gen NCLEX structure. And then speaking of the next gen NCLEX, we also have in every chapter a case study that again is designed to align with NCLEX clinical judgment questions. They are usually scenario-based and short answer. We're also building out auto-graded items that cover the 6-item format of the NCLEX case studies, and again, will be auto-graded in that way. This version here is designed to be open response, and we provide a sample suggested response there for you to have. We found a lot of instructors prefer to use these as written assignments for students, again, to kind of get them in that mindset of NCLEX prep and those real world scenarios. We've also found some other instructors that prefer to use these as in-class activities or even small group discussions or instructor-led. If that's the case and you didn't want to have it set up as open response in this way, but wanted to use it more as a handout, we can change the format for you so it's set up in that way as a handout instead. So again, lots of different options for you, and that's what our team is here for. So that's that takes you through a chapter. Again, every chapter follows that same format from introduction and warm up through the content, through the practice activities, and then ultimately into the assessment items and the case study. So that's the overall flow, and I wanted to show you a couple other quick things as we close up. One is this Insights tab, which is a really popular feature amongst our current users. It shows things like it gives you a sense of lesson to lesson or chapter to chapter how students are performing. There's always dashboards that will show what students are scoring, as well as how much time they're spending logged into the platform. So you get a lot of really powerful data, but it's very intuitive and easy to see as well. And then the grade book, as I mentioned before, you have total choice over what content is graded. I think I may have frozen up here. And again, this is all synced to your LMS if you would prefer that. And then I mentioned earlier the Study Center. The last thing I wanted to highlight is this help icon up top. One other thing that I think really makes Xanadu stand apart from others in the field is our commitment to customer service. We have the benefit of being a smaller company, and emails that you as instructors send us or phone calls are returned immediately. There's also this in FlexEd help icon built in here. So if students need support, they can click here. If it's between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., we always have someone on staff that's responding immediately. If it's off hours, they can count on a reply first thing in the morning. There was some surveying done recently that found that instructors found, as they were looking at ed tech or different courseware options, being able to count on their students having excellent support and customer service is critical. And so we wanted to make sure that that's a cornerstone of what we do at Xanadu, and we have the same commitment to you as instructors. So those are a couple of the highlights we wanted to share with you. We know we did this really quick today. We would love to do a more complete demo with you, and other members of our team would be thrilled to join that to give you an even deeper dive. And we can also set you up with an instructor account so you can check it all out on your own and think about how it could fit in your courses. We are setting up courses now for fall, so you're right on time if you're looking at adopting FlexEd for the fall semester. And with that, I'm gonna just pull up our slides again, if you all don't mind. And
excuse me, Mike.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, just want to share that there's a couple questions in the question pane. I just wanted to make sure we got to those before we hit 2:30, please.
That's perfect. Let's do it. So
thank you.
We covered these things already. I'm sorry, I should have jumped over before. Real benefits for students around affordable, as Beth mentioned, the LMS integration and engaging content and studies tools, and then certainly for instructors as well. All of these highlights around the transition, as Beth mentioned, and the support that we can provide, everything being OpenRN, leading content and fully customizable. And that's what our team at Xanadu is here to support with. I'm going to open this up, and Jeff, would you be able to read the questions?
Yep, for sure. The first one is, are there any issues with instructors or students using Apple products? I haven't heard of any, but I know it's cloud-based and designed to use on all operating systems, but have you heard any issues with Apple products?
No, it works perfectly on Apple products, and yep, we're seeing that many of our instructors and students and school partners are running on Apple. So
yeah, for sure.
Perfectly. Yep. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. The other one is, can we insert our own questions? I can answer that. Absolutely. I mean, the software is designed to be flexible to your needs as an instructor. Yeah, for sure. Anything to add on that before the next question, Mike?
No, you covered it. I just wanted to also mention, I saw that question came in from Michelle, and Michelle's been using FlexEd with colleagues this year and has done a lot of that kind of editing herself. And yep, she's exemplary around that kind of customization to make sure, as Beth mentioned earlier, that the content is aligned with the state standards and some of the local expectations.
For sure. And yes, Lynn, to answer your question, we will be able to share the webinar recording when we send out the follow-up to this presentation. It'll have both a link to the slides as a PDF, as well as a link to the video recording on YouTube, so you can share that with your colleagues. There is a question here, Mike. With the insights information, can the program distinguish between a student being logged in and working and a student who has walked away for a significant period of time?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. It does. FlexEd will automatically log out if there's 5 minutes of inactivity from the student. So yep, you can count on that data, truly measuring active engagement and logging out. And again, that's the benefit of having that LMS integration as well, is when a student does return to his computer, they can quickly get logged back in easily and get back to it.
Terrific. And one final question here is probably best taken offline, Lynn. Mike will contact you directly about accessing this other technology for the management and leadership course. So thank you for that. But I know we're a little over time, folks. But Beth, did you have anything you wanted to add to wrap up, or yourself, Mike?
Nope, just that, as Jeff and Mike had mentioned, we'll take a look at any additional questions that were unanswered, and we'll follow up with you after this session along with the recording. We hope this session was helpful and informative. For more information on Xanadu FlexEd or OpenRN, you can visit xanadu.com/OpenRN. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.